their minds and refused to communicate with me. This left me heartbroken and in a very difficult situation. At the time, I was just starting out in my career, and I wasn't financially ready to live on my own. The suddenness of the eviction left me unprepared mentally and financially. The crux of the issue was my sister, Ellie, who was 34 at the time. Despite the age difference between us, which naturally created some distance, I never expected our relationship to take such a bitter turn. Ellie had been married to Noah, who was then 37, for 5 years. They seemed happy until she abruptly accused Noah of having an affair with my friend Ella, a claim that took everyone by surprise. Ella, who was 26, was actively working on gaining weight and had sought Noah's advice since he was a public health nutritionist. I was the one who introduced them, never imagining the chaos it would soon cause. One day, Ellie returned home distraught, claiming that she had filed for divorce because Noah had been unfaithful with Ella for the past 4 months. The allegation was shocking to me because both Ella and Noah exhibited characteristics completely contrary to those of deceitful people. Ella was a respectable woman, unlikely to engage with a married man, and Noah had always been devoted to Ellie. Despite my disbelief, my parents took Ellie's side without seeking any proof, choosing to believe their daughter over their son-in-law. The situation escalated quickly when Ellie blamed me for introducing Ella to Noah, claiming I had a hand in ruining her marriage. This accusation led my parents to make the hasty decision to expel me from our home. I tried to reason with them, but they were unyielding, forcing me out with nowhere to go. That night, I found myself sobbing on the sidewalk, surrounded by my belongings, utterly lost until a friend kindly offered me shelter. For years, I reached out to my family, trying to mend bridges, but to no avail. Then, nearly 7 years later, I received an unexpected email. It contained detailed explanations and evidence that refuted all the accusations against me and Noah. The truth about what really happened and the misjudgments made were finally clear. While this revelation brought some vindication, the years of estrangement and the pain of being unjustly ostracized by my own family could not be undone. The damage to our relationships had been profound, and the path to reconciliation, while now open, remained fraught with emotional turmoil. The unexpected catalyst for my family reaching out again. After all these years of silence, the engagement announcement on social media somehow made its way to them. Their reaction was not what I had anticipated. Instead of continuing the silence, I received a surprising message from my parents congratulating me, which opened the door to a very cautious reconnection. Reflecting back on everything, it became clear that my family had deeply entrenched the idea that I was at fault for my sister's failed marriage. My parents, perhaps influenced by their closer bond with Ellie and her position as the favored child, had reacted harshly without truly understanding the situation. They had told me they were disgusted by my supposed actions, a harsh judgment that seemed particularly unfair considering I was never involved in the alleged infidelity. This misunderstanding led to them blocking my phone number and even threatening legal action if I tried to approach them. In the weeks following my expulsion from the family home, I was completely cut off. I couldn't reach out to Ellie, Noah, or my parents to get any clarification or to defend myself. Noah, who also distanced himself by blocking me, left me with no direct way to challenge the accusations or to hear his side of the story. Both he and Ellie had moved back with their respective parents, leaving their shared home and making it impossible for me to find them. In my desperation for answers, I turned to Ella, the friend who'd been accused of the affair. Though we weren't close, I hoped she might shed some light on the accusations. When we met, she vehemently denied any romantic involvement with Noah, explaining that their interactions had been strictly professional. She even showed me proof of her stable relationship with her long-term boyfriend, to whom she was soon to be married. Her account contradicted everything Ellie had claimed and left me convinced of their innocence. Despite this revelation, I lacked concrete evidence to present to my family, which hindered any chance of reconciliation at the time. Forced to accept the harsh reality, I focused on rebuilding my life independently. I found a new apartment, dedicated myself to my career, and slowly healed from the emotional turmoil. The process was tough, but it redirected my energy towards personal growth and financial stability. Years later, as I celebrated my engagement, the joyous occasion unexpectedly bridged the gap between my estranged family and me. Their outreach, prompted by my engagement post, hinted at a possible thaw in our chilly relations. Though the past scars remained, this development presented a sliver of hope for mending ties that had been severed under false pretenses. As I move forward with my life, now enriched by my fiancé and a brighter future, I hold on to a cautious optimism about reconnecting with my family, acknowledging the complex journey of misunderstandings and revelations that led us here. That Noah could have fabricated such detailed evidence, and it finally painted the true picture of the situation that had uprooted my life so drastically. The revelation came as a shock. To think that all this time the story had been flipped. My sister, Ellie, was the one who had been unfaithful, not Noah. She had cleverly shifted the blame to Noah, accusing him of cheating with Ella, a scenario I had believed impossible given Noah's character and commitment to the marriage. The twist was that it was Ellie who had engaged in an affair with my friend William, a Prime Foods and sound engineer. William, who lived near Ellie's house, was someone I had casually introduced to her, knowing they shared a mutual interest in music. However, I had never anticipated the betrayal that followed. This anonymous email from Noah, sent several years after our last contact, and prompted by seeing my engagement announcement on Facebook, was a lifeline I didn't know I needed. My fiancée Olivia, who had inadvertently connected us through her wider social media circle, played an unintentional but crucial role in bringing this truth to light. Olivia's decision to share our engagement publicly had serendipitously bridged the gap between my past and present, showing just how small the world can be. Noah's email was detailed and impersonal, containing undeniable proof of the affair between Ellie and William. Screenshots of their intimate emails discussed their deceit, love for each other, and their plans to meet secretly, all behind Noah's back. These pieces of evidence were hard to digest, but they clarified many unanswered questions about the past. Ellie had not only lied about the affair, but had also tried to manipulate everyone into believing Noah was at fault. It was a revelation that turned everything I knew on its head. Understanding that Noah had felt uncomfortable about reaching out directly and chose to send an anonymous email made sense. He had been blocked by me during the heated moments following the breakup and had felt conflicted about reopening old wounds. However, his need to clear his name and share the truth outweighed the awkwardness of the situation. This unexpected disclosure did not erase the years of pain and estrangement, but it provided a sense of closure I desperately needed. It also opened up a path for potential reconciliation with my family, armed with the truth. The impact of this revelation was profound, not just in understanding what had truly happened, but also in beginning to heal the deep-seated wounds caused by years of misunderstanding and misplaced blame. Now, with a clearer understanding of the past and a fresh start with my fiancé, I felt equipped to confront the future with a newfound sense of resilience and hope. The journey ahead would involve mending relationships and building trust again, but with the truth now on my side, I felt ready to face whatever challenges might come. But I had something important to share that they all needed to hear. I had spent years estranged from my family, carrying the weight of accusations that had never truly belonged to me. It was time to clear the air. The emails, signed off with Ellie's middle name, an uncommon detail known only to those closest to her, were irrefutable proof of her deceit. For years, she had painted Noah as the villain, accusing him of infidelity, while she herself was the one entangled in an affair with my friend, William. The reality of the situation was twisted to her advantage, allowing her to garner sympathy and support from our parents during her divorce. After discovering the truth through an anonymous email, I connected the dots back to Noah thanks to the social media connections with my fiancée, Olivia. We met and discussed everything in detail. He explained how he had learned about Ellie's narrative from LA and had kept silent, unsure how to approach me after all these years. This silence had prolonged my suffering and alienation from my family, but upon learning the full extent of Ellie's manipulation, I couldn't stay away any longer. Noah and I decided it was time to confront the situation. We arrived unannounced at my parents' home where I hadn't set foot in over 7 years. My mom answered the door, and before she could fully comprehend the situation, we were inside. The living room scene quickly grew tense as my father and Ellie realized we weren't there for a mere visit. Despite my father's immediate threats to call the police, I stood my ground, driven by the need to expose the lies that had fractured our family. I explained everything to them, showing them the emails that proved Ellie's infidelity. The atmosphere was charged as the evidence contradicted the narrative they had believed for so long. Seeing the deception laid bare, the dynamics in the room shifted. Ellie, usually the couch potato who relied heavily on our parents, had no work or excuses to hide behind. It was a moment of reckoning for her and a pivotal one for me. The confrontation wasn't just about vindication or unraveling lies, it was about seeking a resolution to years of pain and misunderstanding. I hoped that by bringing everything to light, there might be a path to reconciliation. Not just with my parents, but potentially with Ellie too, despite the deep betrayal. As the reality sank in, the possibility of rebuilding our family under the shadow of truth rather than the veil of deceit loomed on the horizon. It was a daunting but necessary step towards healing and possibly forgiving. The road to recovery would be long and fraught with challenges, but standing there, in the home I once knew, I felt a cautious optimism about mending the broken ties. After all, understanding the full story was the first step towards forgiveness and, hopefully, a more honest and open family relationship in the future. She keeps finding ways to contact me. It's exhausting, really, but I'm firm on not letting her drama drag me back into the chaos. The day we confronted my family with the truth about Ellie's deception, it was as if years of built-up tension and mystery unraveled in just a few moments. Noah and I presented the divorce documents alongside screenshots of Ellie and William's emails that exposed their affair. My parents were shocked, not only by the revelation, but also by the additional sting that Ellie had to part with our grandmother's cherished diamond ring to settle the divorce, a ring that held sentimental value far beyond its monetary worth. As we laid out the facts, Ellie tried to dismiss herself from the living room, likely overwhelmed by the evidence stacked against her. Noah detailed the circumstances to my parents, and I filled in the gaps, explaining how the false narrative had cast me out for years. The atmosphere was thick with betrayal and disbelief. My father, initially hesitant, demanded a straightforward explanation from Ellie. However, when it became clear she was still weaving lies, he decided he had enough. He packed up her things and handed her the bags, echoing the expulsion I had faced years ago. This time, though, it was Ellie pleading for sympathy, not me. As Noah and I left the house, my resolve was firm. I had been vindicated, but the cost was high. The family dynamic had been irrevocably altered, and while part of me felt satisfaction at seeing karma in action, another part of me was just tired of all the drama. Recently, Ellie showed up at my doorstep, desperate and tearful, demanding I intervene on her behalf with our parents. It was surreal seeing her so unraveled, especially considering how she had once convinced everyone that I was the problem. I refused to help, telling her that our debts were now settled. She left a message on my door, accusing me of being vengeful. Maybe I was, but after everything, I felt justified. Despite the turmoil, I have no regrets about bringing the truth to light. The whole ordeal has only solidified my decision to distance myself from Ellie. She continues to attempt contact, hoping to elicit sympathy or assistance, but I remain detached. Her lifestyle changes, having to pay for her own living expenses, are a consequence of her actions, not my responsibility. So now, as I reflect on everything that's happened, I stand by my decisions. I've blocked her number again, and any lingering guilt about the repercussions she's facing has dissipated. It's time for me to focus on my future with Olivia, free from the shadows of the past. As for Ellie, I hope she finds a way to rebuild her life, but it will be without my involvement. Amidst the chaos of preparing for my wedding with Olivia, my parents suddenly appeared out of the woodwork, wanting to reconnect after spotting our engagement announcement on Facebook. They expressed a desire to attend the wedding without even offering an apology for their past actions. It was baffling to see them act as if nothing had happened, assuming they could just walk back into my life for such a significant occasion. Olivia and I could only shake our heads and laugh at their messages, which seemed almost surreal in their disconnect from reality. The situation escalated when Ellie, undeterred by my previous warnings, dramatically threw herself across my car one morning, refusing to let me leave for work. Her actions forced me to call the police, and she was taken away while still trying to paint herself as the victim. Despite pressing charges, I knew my parents would bail her out, and I was right. They even had the audacity to send me a lengthy text afterward, criticizing me for being too harsh and calling their betrayal an honest mistake. Their message was almost comical in its lack of self-awareness. They seemed to forget the years of hurt and betrayal that led to my estrangement, expecting forgiveness and kindness as if they had merely misplaced an item, not nearly destroyed my life. I responded firmly, reminding them that they had lost any right to dictate my actions or judge my decisions long ago. Returning from work, I found yet another message from them, this time inviting Olivia and me to dinner to sort things out before the wedding. They claimed they were giving both their children a second chance, as if I had been at fault in the past. Olivia and I laughed at their audacity. It was clear they still didn't grasp the extent of their actions or my resolve. I wrote back one last time, making it clear that I had no interest in reconnecting or attending any dinner. I was content with my life as it had been for the past 7 years without them. Their so-called forgiveness and offers of reconciliation meant nothing to me. With that final message, I blocked them, cutting off any further attempts at communication. Olivia is now my family, the only one I need. My parents and Ellie have shown repeatedly that they are incapable of seeing beyond their own needs and desires. If they try to reach out again, they'll find themselves talking to my lawyer instead. This chapter of my life is closed, and I'm looking forward to a future with Olivia, free from the shadows of the past.